Chapter 10 As the Sun Returned. So what now? Julia asked. The final battle had caused some confusion. They decided to keep what happened for another day, as no one had the slightest clue of what had occurred. And after so many days of fighting, everyone preferred to stop worrying. It's really over, isn't it? Harold asked. We've completed the riddle, so I think so, yeah, Drake replied. No portals, no monsters, well, probably some still lurking around the corner, but they shouldn't be much of a threat anymore. I think we can go home. If it's really over, I suppose we will have to head back now, Calypso pointed out. Could you get us there, Drake? Drake realized Calypso didn't see what happened, and Drake wondered if he could still summon his portal. Before he tried it, Harold, Julia, and Maya looked at him worriedly. Drake tried it anyway, but was unable to summon anything. Well, in a way, it's a relief, but I'm afraid I lost it. It was yours, wasn't it? Calypso asked. You knew? I had a feeling, but I was afraid to come to the conclusion. But how are we going to get back now? Lawrence asked. I have an idea, Drake said. After meeting up with the president, they discussed the date on which they had received their token of gratitude. Doc had apparently been rewarded a brand new helicopter. He was thankful, but he could never really replace his old one. Eventually, they traveled by a private plane the president had arranged. After a short amount of time, they landed in Inverness, in Scotland. After exiting the airport, they headed for Loch Ness by cars. Everyone was so tired and getting there was a bit of a hassle. Some even managed to get some sleep in the car. But eventually they did arrive. They had returned to Loch Ness. Final stop, Loch Ness, Harry said. Drake chuckled upon Harry's joke. It reminded him of older days. Drake was greeted by the monster of Loch Ness, inviting them again. No one could see the creature besides Drake, but everyone was allowed to enter Dragonia. The president was a loose man and couldn't pass on such an opportunity. He joined them and entered Dragonia as well. Getting wet wasn't exactly a problem with Calypso on their side. After everyone took a dive, they entered a blossoming mythical world. Shortly after, they were greeted by Haven and Pie. Drake received the power to summon portals again, with the promise that it would be harmless this time. Drake wasn't so sure if that was the case, but couldn't pass on the capability to enter Dragonia at any given time. After a heartwarming goodbye, Calypso, Arrows, and the dwarves separated. Drake brought the president back to the lake, where his bodyguards were waiting. They spoke of the next time they would meet and separated. Finally, it was time for the rest to go home. Before they left, one last glance at the lake. Drake looked up at the bright sun. As the sun had returned, it provided everyone with a comforting warmth once again. Drake rang his doorbell. A short while after, the door was opened. Drake! Ariana embraced her son, squeezing him a little too hard. Drake felt stupid for not seeing it coming. But after all, he was extremely exhausted. His sister joined them and gave Drake a hug as well. Even she had missed him. Drake looked behind them and looked at his mother when he didn't see the fourth person in their family. Ariana moved her head, nodding no. His father had still not come home. Julia rang her doorbell. Her father, Harold, opened the door for her. He was astounded and overcome with joy to see his daughter back. Her mother, Rona, joined as well. Julia's brother, Mark, was home too. They were all glad to see her home again, even Mark, whose wallet still remained missing. Harold hammered on his doorbell. It took a while before his little brother Ken opened the door. We don't want no door-to-door sales folk. Come back no other time. Ken was a little bit like Dora. Hey, knucklehead, Mom and Dad home? No. Howard's mother and father, Lauren and Sebastian, heard Howard's voice and stormed towards the doorway. Uh-oh. They nearly knocked Howard over by embracing him, also overcome with joy to see him back. Howard's older sister, Leela, joined and welcomed him back. Howard was glad to see them too, even Ken. Darren rang the doorbell that was once his. It's weird, he said. What is? I asked. My home is where my family is, but during my time stuck in Dragonia, I never missed this house. Just you and your mother. The door was opened by a young girl. Mama, Mia and Dog is back. The girl was Maya's little 5-year-old sister, Lulu. Her English wasn't very good yet. Darren looked at the girl, shocked. Ilana came running to the door. As she came around the corner and noticed not 2 but 3 people, she stood still at the sight of the third. She couldn't come up with what to say. Maya expected her to be angry, but that was not the first thing Ilana felt. She started to cry. She took a few steps towards Darren, who was terrified of her reaction, but his worries were in vain. Ilana placed her hands on Darren's cheeks and her forehead against his. She hugged him afterwards. They both didn't know what to say. After letting go, she gave Maya a hug. Mama, who is that? Lulu asked while pointing at Darren. Darren was still perplexed. He pointed at himself, after which Ilana nodded yes. Darren turned out to have a daughter he never knew of. He had so many regrets, but knew to never leave his family again. The next morning, Drake, Harold, Julia, and Maya had gathered at the airport. After entering a plane and quite a long trip, a taxi and a boat, they arrived at their destination. So this is it? Harold pointed out. Yep, Julia replied. Okinawa. Julia needed a vacation, so they traveled somewhere she really wanted to go. Okinawa, Japan. Their first impression of the island was great. It was a warm, sunny day. The beaches were not too crowded and the waves were good for surfing. After they changed into their swimsuits, they headed for the ocean. Lost in the water is a makai, Maya told them. It was a calming day. The worries of the past days all disappeared and the memories became good ones. The bad ones faded. The world had learned so much and was now ready for anything unexplainable. Later on that day, Harold pointed at a few surfboards stashed next to a beach shop. The girls paused, but Drake was interested. Secretly, they just wanted to look cool, but frankly, they were terrible at it. They couldn't even remain standing on the surfboards for more than 5 seconds. When Julia invited Maya to show them how it's done, they ordered a few surfboards after all and proved to Harold and Drake that they had a whole lot more balance than the boys had. When the sun started going under, they sat at a campfire. It was a good idea to come here, Drake pointed out. Thanks, Drake, Julia replied with a smile. She was glad to see Drake smiling again as well. There's still a lot unanswered, isn't there? Drake asked. Yes, but sometimes you just need to take a break, Maya answered. Our next challenge will show itself once the time is right. Someone was approaching them. Hi, he said. Hi, Drake replied. I saw your surf attempt. That was quite disastrous. I was gonna say brave, but that works too. I'm Kane. Nice to meet you. Everyone else introduced themselves. You don't look like you're from here, Julia pointed out. Nope, I'm Dutch. Hey, we're Dutch as well, Haru said. I know, you do? You think you're still unknown to the world? Your bravery is known worldwide. Anyways, I just wanted to thank you all, and perhaps I can pay you back with some surfing lessons first thing in the morning. Oh, that sounds like fun, Maya replied. Drake and Harold were pouting instead. Now that I think about it, we haven't tried to find a place to sleep yet, Julia pointed out. Oh, perhaps I can help with that, Kane said. My parents own a little beach hotel further on. My parents are paying for my own apartment. Who knows, I might be able to bring you. You can spend the night there if you'd like. Whoa, thanks, Kane, Drake said. That sounds wonderful, Maya said. Thanks, man, Haru said. Yeah, thank you. Must be quite a lot better than the tents we're used to, Julia said. Once they got to the hotel, Kane was able to sneak them inside. As they could get to Kane's apartment unseen, no explanation or approval from his parents was needed. The apartment was quite large and everyone was able to spend the night on a soft layer and underneath a blanket. That because of the heat wasn't very necessary. It was late and the sun had gone under. Everyone went to sleep. They slept perfectly, at last. But despite the perfect night, not everyone decided to sleep. Can't sleep? Julia was approaching Drake, who was leaning over the balcony with a view of the sea. No, just not that tired, and too many thoughts. Yeah, same. Why's that? Tentacle trauma? Tentacle what? Oh, that. No, I'm fine. And you? How's your fear of water? The surfing helps. I don't like it, but it helps me get over it. Everyone's got their fears. Yeah, what's yours? Me? Besides spiders, I don't know yet. Really? Yeah, I have yet to find out. I see. Oh well, that's a good thing in a way. Or a bad thing. You're starting to sound like me. I do? Haha, better flip a switch then. Drake and Julia were both leaning over the railing, looking into the distance. All they made sound were the tiny waves until Haru joined them. What are you two lovebirds doing? What? Drake said hastily while Julia's face turned all red. Just kidding, don't worry. Maya joined them as well. I'm assuming no one's in the mood to sleep? Falling asleep isn't the problem, though, Drake replied. Let's hope that Kane's surfing lessons won't start too early in the morning then, Maya said. They did. Looking forward to those, Julia said. Just to see us fail miserably again? Haru asked. Yep. Haru started pouting. It was quiet for a while. Everyone was looking at the stars. Could this have been a last adventure? Haru asked. I doubt it, Julia replied. When you think you finally have some time off, another one is right at your doorstep. Let's pray for many more to come, alright? Maya said. Drake wasn't particularly happy with that idea. He loved everything about their adventures, but there was always something he was worried about. Were things always going to remain a blast? Or was there something much darker around the corner? But overall, they were happy, thankful, relieved. Drake finally felt a little more free, despite the still unanswered questions. But saving their own world gave them a completely different feeling than saving Rosium. It felt like they really fought for their own causes this time, which was unusual considering Drake felt more at home in Rosium. The four friends managed to solve a riddle, leading them to several places all over the world. They faced creatures like never before and succeeded in closing the portals that caused terrible things to the world. Besides fame, satisfaction, and sightseeing, they gained something even better during their adventure. A new friend, Maya. A courageous and brave girl, grateful for the thrill of their adventure, and even more grateful for being reunited with her father after 5 entire years. So what's going to happen now? Julian asked. Simple, Drake replied. We go where the waves take us. We go where faith wants us to go. Time will tell. It was a beautiful adventure.